There's a point where breathwork leaves the meditation cushion in your living room and enters the real world. Contextual breathing is where deliberate practice meets the intensity and chaos of real life. The breathing practices I'm about to teach you aren't just for your morning routine, but for everyday situations like moments of pressure, challenging decisions, discomfort, fearful moments, and strong emotions in general. The problem with breathwork is that many people practice deliberate breathing techniques like a standalone practice, a separate practice that you do in the morning or in your spare time. You kind of hope that the effects of this time investment carry over into the rest of your day, where you feel less stressed, more energetic, and overall more in control. And yes, that's true to some degree, but another use case for breathwork is contextual breathing or intervention breathing. A big benefit is that you can use these techniques when stress hits you the strongest, but we need to train it. Your breath can become a steady partner to create the physiological foundation upon which you can act with more agency. When you train contextual breathing, you're not trying to escape stress, but to walk with it. The breath becomes a thread connecting awareness to action, transforming physiological reflexes into conscious choices. To train breathwork on the different forms of pressure, we need to create easy-to-follow situations that trigger similar stress responses in our bodies and minds, and use our breathing to calm ourselves. All the practices I'm about to share with you address different types of stressors, such as fatigue, fear, uncertainty, hesitation, or procrastination. Each breath in this section teaches a different form of composure. You learn to serve your urges instead of drowning in them, to find stillness in intensity, to act without hesitation, and to pause when instinct says react. It's breathwork not for the quiet room, but for the storm. Urges come like waves, cravings, impulses, emotions, reactions. They rise fast, peak, and fade again. Most people fight them with not so much success. Urge surfing is the art of riding that wave with your breath as your board. When you feel the pull to check your phone, to eat, to escape, to procrastinate, pause. Don't resist the urge and don't obey it either. Instead, breathe. Slow, steady inhales through the nose, long, even exhales through the nose or mouth. Picture the urge as a swell beneath you. Your breath becomes the balance that keeps you from falling in. Physiologically, this changes everything. By extending the exhale, you activate the vagus nerve, lowering the heart rate and stabilizing the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control. What felt like compulsion becomes sensation, and what felt urgent becomes manageable. The body learns assurance in that discomfort that you feel. In mindfulness traditions, this is freedom in its rawest form, awareness standing in the middle of desire without being consumed by it. It's very important to accept that the inner conflict of resistance, which feels very uncomfortable and sometimes even painful, means that you are actually succeeding. Accept that this sensation is a sign of success and don't try to push it away, which ultimately means giving in to the urge. Alternate nostril breathing is a great way to learn to ride the wave of urges. Inhale through one nostril, blocking one of them with your thumb, and then block the other nostril and exhale through, and then inhale through the same nostril again and switch to the other when you exhale again, and so forth. This simple pattern and the movement with your hand to block one nostril anchor your mind to the present moment, away from the swell of your urge. And the slow, deep breathing calms your nervous system, enabling you to accept and deal with their inner conflict more effectively. Practice it when the craving hits. Don't try to crush the wave, just breathe through it. When you learn to serve your impulses, you stop living as a reaction and start moving with more intention. There are countless moments in everyday life where you can practice urge surfing. Whether it's the compulsive doom scroll on social media, porn, sugary or salty foods, or all forms of procrastination, temptations that hold us back from doing one thing we're supposed to do. Don't be too hard on yourself in the beginning. You will definitely fail miserably, and That's why it's called surfing. When you ride a wave, you're supposed to fall and occasionally miss a wave. But the game is to get back on the board and try again. That's how we get better. Try to set achievable goals and create certain predefined windows during the week where you're allowed to follow your cravings. Over time, you can minimize these windows as you grow with the practice of urge surfing. Composure breathing is the discipline of elegance under intensity. It's the practice of staying physically upright and mentally unshaken when the environment tries to collapse you. There are many real-life scenarios in which you can train mental and physical composure through our breath and mind. Practices such as endurance or high-intensity exercises, deep focus sessions, or meditations are some domains where you can train yourself. The main principle of the practice is that we take an external stressor that grows in intensity over time and balance a composed mind and body against it, and then use deliberate breathing for longer endurance in that moment. The sauna or a hot bath is the perfect dojo for this example. It starts out nice and easy. Suddenly the air becomes heavy, the heat relentless, and the mind begging for escape. You sit tall and breathe through your nose and hold your ground. Additionally, a sauna or a hot bath offers many health benefits, which is why I like to layer this activity with mindfulness and breath exercises. When temperature is hot enough, keep it safe though, the effect of cumulative heat stress adds up and it becomes more difficult to engage in a deliberate breathing practice or even remain still. Every instinct tells you to slouch or leave. That's the tension point where body and will collide. You inhale deeply, expanding the ribcage against the heat. Then exhale quietly and calm composure. Keep the exhale longer than the inhale. I like to do 3 seconds in and 5 or even 7 seconds out. The longer you stay, the more you realize the battle isn't with the heat, it's with resistance itself. Physiologically, slow nasal breathing in extreme warmth prevents hyperventilation or shallow breathing and preserves equilibrium. It keeps oxygen and CO2 balanced while regulating heart rate through the vagus nerve. The body still sweats, but the mind kind of stays cool. Heat becomes a mirror reflecting our inner landscape, showing whether our composure breaks or remains strong. But if you don't have access to a sauna or don't have a bathtub, you can achieve a similar effect by holding a horse stance or a plank position. These isometric exercises, where you remain still and can focus on your breathing, but that are getting increasingly harder to hold with each passing second, offer a perfect opportunity to engage in calm breathing and a strong posture in body and mind. At a certain point, your mind will break and you lose focus, and shortly after, you will give up and go out of the posture. I recently joined my wife in hot yoga / Bikram yoga, and I was glad to discover that the same principles apply here. In Japanese culture, composure under stress is seijaku, stillness in the midst of activity. The sauna, the long focused work session, a workout, a heated argument, it doesn't really matter. The lesson is the same. Posture, breath, and focus are inseparable. When you control the shape of your body and the rhythm of your breath, you remain the tone of your mind. The world will still pull you out of alignment, or at least it will try to, but breath brings you back to the center, refined, unshaken, and alive. But you need to train for it, and you can cultivate it. Balanced breathing is the opposite of the breathing style you would use in the sauna. When taking a cold shower or going into an ice bath, the shock of intensity hits you immediately. It bites, the kind of shock that exposes everything. Step into the ice bath or cold shower and the body's first reaction is panic. The inhale spikes and the heart races and the mind screams, "Get out!" That's the moment where the practice really begins. Instead of fighting the cold, you meet it with the rhythm of a strong breath. You need to understand that the cold shock immediately puts your body and mind into a fight or flight mode. Many people start to hyperventilate, or worse, their breath freezes. This is why I often call this the fight, flight, freeze mode, because many people are not able to react when panic kicks in. But the point is that you gradually take control over your breathing and gently lead it to safe shores where your mind gets calm and collected, even in high-stress environments. Inhale strongly through the nose and exhale longer through the mouth. Start with fast and strong inhalations and controlled forced exhalations. This is your starting point where you take control of your breathing and just let the intensity of the shock carry your breath and even lean into it. And then gradually prolong your exhalation and calm your breathing down breath by breath. Slowly bring your breathing pace down, as if you're teaching the body that this discomfort is not danger, only sensation. Your breath becomes an anchor in the storm, keeping your awareness steady while the shock wave moves through you. Physiologically, this deliberate slowing of your breath reverses the cold-induced sympathetic surge. It calms the adrenal system, steadies the heartbeat, and keeps vasoconstriction from overwhelming the body. The cold is still there, but the reaction to it changes. What was chaos and panic becomes order and calmness. What was threat becomes training. Traditionally, this is the essence of hormesis, using controlled stress to build resilience. The eyes becomes a mirror for the mind. It shows your threshold, your fear, your control. Breath is the bridge that lets you cross that panic to presence. So when the cold hits you and your breath wants to run away, slow it down gradually. Let the exhale lengthen and let the body adjust. Let awareness expand into more and deeper sensation. In that balance, you discover power that doesn't come from force, but from acceptance. Please practice safely and always consult the doctor first if you have any cardiovascular or autoimmune diseases. Also, don't overdo this practice. I would recommend starting with 1 or 2 cold showers per week, each lasting 30 seconds when you're starting out. Then work yourself up to colder water and longer durations. Practicing this regularly will not only lift your mood, but also strengthen your immune system, and it serves as a training ground to take control of an intense moment to build more mental resilience. Even though you can adapt to the cold, you will always feel this mental resistance of taking a cold shower. This doesn't go away, no matter how many times you have already done it. And the same applies to the physiological response to the cold shock. The next 2 practices can be combined with taking cold showers or an ice bath, but are also very useful standalone practices. The samurai believed that hesitation was worse than death, not because impulsiveness was noble, but because hesitation divides the mind. A divided mind cannot act with integrity. The book Hagakure, the Code of the Samurai, speaks of acting with a ready heart, meaning that the decision should be made before the sword is drawn. Samurai decision breathing trains that readiness. When facing uncertainty, a difficult conversation, a big career choice, a fear you've postponed, don't rush, but don't hesitate either. Set a boundary. 10 breaths. Sit or stand tall, spine aligned, eyes steady. Breathe deeply through the nose, slowly out through the mouth or nose. 1 breath. Clarity rises. 2. Emotion softens. 3. The noise quiets. By the 10th breath, the mind and body align enough to see what must be done. Physiologically, this practice works because slow breathing restores prefrontal control. It reduces the emotional noise generated by the limbic system and synchronizes heart rate variability, creating coherence between heart and mind. The decision that emerges from this state isn't forced, it's revealed. The rule isn't about speed, but integrity. 10 breaths are long enough to prevent reactivity, yet short enough to block endless rumination. It's the ritualized pause that restores agency, the kind that lets you move from confusion to clarity without outsourcing the decision to chance or emotion. Whether it's sending a message, starting a new journey, or stepping into the ice bath, your breath becomes the countdown to courage. When the tensed exhale leaves your body, act. Don't overthink. Let the breath decide. A bit of a side note here. Be cautious when applying this practice. Some decisions obviously require more time to gather enough data, experiences, or simply a good night's sleep before making them. All decisions that set you on a path for many years, like marriage, having kids, and a career path, should be done thoroughly. But I often use samurai decision breathing for habits, such as when I'm internally debating whether to attend my training or a social event, or when I'm about to sign a contract or make a significant investment into something and I've already done the cognitive heavy lifting. Sometimes my intuition emerges within those 10 breaths and guides me to a better decision. This is the simplest and most direct of all contextual practices. But it's maybe the practice that changed my life the most. A bridge between thought and motion. When fear, resistance, or doubt paralyzes you, take one deliberate conscious breath. A full inhale through the nose and a complete exhale through the mouth. And then move or act. It could be stepping into the cold shower, starting the workout, hitting the record button on the camera, or saying the thing you've been holding back. One breath, then action. Hesitation and not taking the first step kills more good intentions and habits than lack of motivation. The single breath does more than calm the nervous system. It signals the transition from deliberation to execution. Physiologically, it drops a burst of CO2 that steadies your heartbeat and clears the mental fog. Physiologically, it anchors the mind in the presence. Remind you of that courage is not an absence of fear, but the mastery of timing. Because once you've taken the first step, you're already in motion. You're teaching your body and mind that hesitation burns more energy than action. Over time, this becomes a trained reflex. Breathe, then move. It turns the abstract idea or discipline or wish, intention into something physical, a tangible and repeatable action. This is maybe one of the practices that, as I mentioned, changed my life the most. I'm a very shy and introvert person by nature, and hesitation is a default reflex that I had to overcome if I wanted to achieve my goals. One breath and action helped me to talk to this girl, which led to a beautiful marriage and 3 wonderful kids. It led to my first ice bath. It led to recording my first video and having this business that I have here. And generally, it helped me to overcome my anxiety of being judged and exposing myself and always having this huge bucket or wish list and just start. I could give so many other examples, big and small. So in the end, one breath is all it takes to bridge intention and reality. The inhale gathers will, the exhale releases doubt, and the space after, the quiet moment when the breath leaves the body, you step forward, taking your first step of the journey, then the next. That's where transformation really lives. See you in the next one.